15 years after the Wesley Snipes boxing movie Undisputed comes out, we finally get Boyka, Undisputed IV. It is definitely not a boxing movie, and it does not star Wesley Snipes. So, how is it? Let's talk about it. So if you're unfamiliar with the Undisputed series, the first movie was a boxing movie starring Wesley Snipes. The second movie was a mixed martial arts movie starring Michael Jai White, and the villain of it was played by Scott Adkins. And then in the third movie, Scott Adkins became the lead character. It was like a redemption story for the villain of the second film. And the fourth movie continues the stories of the Scott Adkins character. So in this movie, our title character, Yuri Boyka, the most complete fighter in the world, is seeking mainstream success as a fighter and to move past underground illegal fighting rings. But in the process, someone ends up dying in the ring. This leads him to try and set things right, and he volunteers to fight in an underground fighting ring for a Russian mobster in a path for redemption and atonement, and thus we have our movie. Right from the get-go, I'm gonna say I'm reviewing this as a straight to Netflix, straight to Blu-ray martial arts film. That's a specific genre for a specific category of people. I'm one of those people. If that's not your thing, this movie's not gonna win you over. I don't recommend you check out this movie because it's not for you. It's for a specific group of people, and this review is for that specific group of people. With that said, let's talk about the good. Right off the bat, the most important thing about a movie like this is, does it have fights and are they good? And the answer to both of those questions is yes. This is classic Scott Adkins type martial arts stuff with the cool flippy moves, speed at wide angles where you can see what's going on, long takes, pure athleticism, great martial artists doing really cool stuff, flippy moves, cool leg locks, all the stuff that you want from a Scott Adkins direct-to-video martial arts movie, you get in this movie, and you get a lot of it. Lots of cool stuff. I was a little bit worried at the beginning that maybe some of it might look a little bit too sped up, and it's not like that. Also, I checked out his movie Hard Target last year, which I wasn't really a fan of, and it seemed a little bit too much in that one where it seemed like there were missing faces, and some of the fighters in it just aren't on his level, and so then it pretty clearly they were just trying to make someone look like a fighter that can't fight. That's not the case here. All the people here hold their own weight, can do their own cool flippy things, or they're just gigantic human beings that are physically intimidating. So across the board, if you want fights with cool flippy things and all the Scott Adkins type stuff, that is in this movie. You get a lot of it right from the beginning all the way to the end. No shortage of action in this movie, and it's nice and brief. It doesn't stretch out too long, doesn't overstuff it with too many plot lines. It's just about right. Speaking of the plot, for this type of the movie, they give it a nicer, it's very much in the line of like Van Damme's Lionheart, where there's a fighter guy that goes on a path of redemption to help someone out that's had a loss, and that's the type of plot, and the person goes into an underground fighting ring, like in the movie Lionheart. Similar, obviously very different, but similar types of plot, and so there's some emotional connection and resonance in some of that, and you're a little bit more interested than some of the other straight to Blu-ray martial arts films. So I thought the story was a little bit more engaging than most of these type movies. Not great. This isn't a wonderful script by any means, but you're also not seeing this movie for that purpose. It provides just enough structure that you care about the characters, a little bit of emotional punch, and provides lots of opportunities for Scott Adkins to do cool flippy moves. But this is not a great martial arts movie. It's just a good one, so let's talk about the bad. The big problem here is the director clearly put all of his effort and focus into making sure it had awesome fight scenes and not so much into making sure that the emotional scenes had the right punch. And so they do a lot of cheesy stuff with flashbacks. They do a lot of moments where it's just kind of people's expressions responding things, but it's not directed with the same level of finesse as the fight scenes where they're staged really nicely so you can see it from a distance, you can see everything going on, very well crafted. That's not the way the emotional sequences move, and to some extent, it's just a martial arts movie, what's the big deal? Well, we're distinguishing between good and great movies don't just have good fight sequences, they also have powerful moments. This one does not have powerful moments. You could see where it could have that if the story had been told better, constructed better, and those sequences played out better, not so cheesy with flashbacks. And so that's kind of the biggest weakness of the movie, that it just kind of falls flat outside of the fight sequences. Speaking of the fight sequences, as I was watching it, there was a side to me that was like, they're so cool and flippy and all the moves that they're doing. Back in the 90s when I was growing up, this would have been a dream come true to see this type of thing. Why am I not as excited by it as I think I should be? And I think part of the problem that the fight scenes aren't as good as I think they should be is because everyone in the movie has the same fighting style, the same flippy move, leg lock, grab him by the head, spin around, triple 720 spin kicks. They're all doing the same types of moves. You're not seeing the sumo wrestler against the taekwondo guy, or, you're not seeing the different fight styles. So, classic examples of like Bloodsport, where every fighter in that movie is a different type of fighter. And so you're seeing the contrast of the different styles and the strengths and the weaknesses. In this movie, it's just everybody kind of has the same fighting style, except for like the main boss fight at the end of it, where it's a big gigantic guy. Other than that, they all do these same types of moves. And so it doesn't have a variety to it. You're just seeing, okay, which cool flippy kick is he going to do this time? Which cool double jump kick is he going to do this time? And it's not just, is he going to do, is the other guy going to do? Oh, that guy can only do a 360, he can do the 720. But you're not seeing actually fundamentally different fighting styles. And so there's a certain commonality to it, and it's the same stuff that we've seen in previous Undisputed movies as well as previous Scott Adkins movies, and so they're not quite as exciting as you want them to be. With all that said, this is a good, watchable martial arts movie if you're into this kind of thing, but it's not going to win anybody over, and it's certainly not a classic. I'm going to give this a 6.1 out of 10. I do recommend it for the right people, but it's not going to win anybody over. If you rent this from Redbox and this is your kind of thing, you won't be disappointed. You will have a good time, but you've seen it before. And if I'm being honest, I don't know that this is a movie I'll rewatch a whole lot. There's other kind of movies of this genre, like last year's Kickboxer Vengeance is something I can see myself rewatching far more than I would rewatch this movie. But if I'm in the mood and I put this one back in, I would enjoy it once again. So that's my take on Boyka Undisputed IV. Tell me what you thought about, though, in the comment section, and tell me what's your favorite Scott Adkins martial arts movie. Because I don't want to just talk about martial arts movies, I want to talk about movies with you. So let's have a great conversation down in the comment section. With all that said, if you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I review several movies per week. I talk about the movie news from time to time, do some trailer reactions, do some ranking videos. Also, I got this cool thing called Masters of Movie Trivia I started up, where I go into a movie trivia competition with some other YouTubers. It's a ton of fun. The second episode just dropped a couple days ago. Go check that out. It's a ton of fun. And as always, thank you for watching.